Can I tell you something? I find teaching private lessons terrifying. And that's after a decade teaching twice weekly private lessons to very high profile clients. If you're intimidated by private yoga lessons, you're in good company. Many yoga teachers avoid offering private lessons, not because they wouldn't be great at it, but because they don't feel confident in their preparation. Maybe you're worried about pricing, unsure about how to structure a lesson, or afraid you won't deliver what your student needs. But with thoughtful preparation and the right tools, you can create a transformative experience for your private students and finally feel confident in your one-on-one teaching. I'm Sage Rountree, and this is Yoga Teacher Confidential: Secrets of Becoming a Great Yoga Teacher. Today, we're diving into how to prepare for your first or next private yoga lesson. We'll cover creating an effective intake form, designing a personalized lesson plan, adding value beyond the session itself, setting up your teaching space, and managing your own nerves. Let's start with the foundation, the intake process. Before your student arrives for their first session, you need to gather information that will help you tailor the experience to their specific needs, goals, and history. Your intake form is more than just paperwork. It's your roadmap for creating a personalized experience. Think of it as the difference between a generic restaurant menu and a chef preparing a meal specifically for your tastes and your dietary needs. Here's what a comprehensive intake form should include. First, collect the basics: name, contact information, emergency contact, and whether they've practiced yoga before. But don't stop there. Now, you may be tempted to ask about injuries, but I advise against that. Unless you have a background in physical therapy or nursing or a related field, therapeutic care is outside your scope of practice as a yoga teacher. And once you've received information about injuries, you're legally liable for working with that information in a session. It's a lot to carry. Instead, ask your student about their goals. Why are they seeking private instruction? Are they looking to supplement their group classes, or troubleshoot a pose, or prepare for an athletic event, or reduce stress? Understanding their why helps you design a practice that addresses what matters most to them. Also, ask about their experience level. Have they taken group classes before? And what styles? Do they have a home practice? This helps you calibrate your language and know how much explanation different techniques will require. I find that often students seek a private lesson or a series of them as a runway before they go to group classes, and so that they can show up at their group classes with confidence that they know what to do. Don't forget to ask about time constraints and schedule preferences. How long can your private lesson student practice between sessions? What time of day works best for them? This information helps you design realistic homework. That homework adds big value to your student and roots their practice firmly, meaning they receive yoga's benefits sooner than later. Finally, include a section for additional information they want to share. Often, students will mention things here that they didn't feel fit elsewhere, but are crucial to understanding their needs. You can deliver your intake form via email before your first session, or use an online form builder like Google Forms or Tally.so. I've linked to some options in the show notes. The key is getting this information before you meet, so you have time to thoughtfully design the private yoga lesson. Now let's talk about how to translate that intake information into a personalized lesson plan. The 642 sequencing framework I explain in my book, The Art of Yoga Sequencing, and that we've discussed in previous episodes, works beautifully for private lessons. Remember that 6 moves of the spine, 4 lines of the legs, and 2 core actions. This framework ensures a balanced practice while giving you flexibility to customize. Once you have reviewed your student's intake form, identify the primary areas to focus on based on their goals and physical considerations. For example, if they're an office worker with neck and shoulder tension who wants to reduce stress, you might emphasize gentle back bends, shoulder openers, and longer held restorative poses. If they're a runner wanting to improve performance, you might focus on hip mobility, hamstring lengthening, and stability work. Draft a lesson plan with these focal points in mind, and remember to keep it flexible. Private lessons often take unexpected turns as you observe your student in real time and discover areas that need attention you couldn't anticipate from the form alone. I recommend planning more content than you think you'll need, maybe about 25% more. This gives you options if certain poses don't work for your student or if y'all move through material more quickly than expected. Your lesson plan should include a centering practice to begin, a warm-up sequence targeting the areas you'll work on more intensively, your main sequence addressing their primary goals, a personalized exploration of at least one featured skill or practice or takeaway that your student can repeat on their own as homework, some kind of cooling sequence, and a final relaxation. For each segment, note modifications and props you might need. Consider having alternative poses ready if your original choices don't work for them. Unlike group classes, private lessons give you the luxury of truly personalizing the pace. Plan to spend more time on verbal explanation, demonstration, and feedback. Your student is paying for your undivided attention. Make sure they receive it. One of the most valuable ways to enhance a private lesson is to provide resources that extend the experience beyond your time together. This added value makes private lessons worth the premium price and helps your student progress faster. Consider creating a take-home practice for your student based on what you cover in your session. This could be a simple written sequence with key alignment cues noted, or if you're tech-savvy, a short video recording of the sequence you're recommending that they practice. You could even record a portion of your session together, especially if you're working on a particular skill or sequence they want to practice at home. Most students really appreciate having a visual reference for their home practice. Create a resource list tailored to your students' interests and goals. This could include book recommendations, online classes that complement your work together, or even other wellness practitioners in your network who could support their journey. Prepare a follow-up email template beforehand, and then you can quickly personalize it after your session with specific observations and suggestions. This small touch demonstrates your commitment to their progress, and it saves you time later. Let's talk about logistics. Where will you meet your student? This decision affects both the practical elements of your teaching and the overall experience. If you teach at a yoga studio, ask about their policies for private lessons. Many studios offer reduced rental rates for teachers to use their space for private clients, or they may take a percentage of your fee. Teaching at a studio gives you access to props and a space designed for yoga, which can be ideal, especially when you're starting out. Some teachers prefer to travel to their students' homes. This eliminates the space rental issue and can be more convenient for your clients. However, be sure to factor travel time and transportation costs into your fee. Also, ask in advance about the space and available props so you can bring anything necessary. And never go anywhere you don't feel 100% safe. Outdoor settings can be lovely for private lessons, weather permitting. Parks, beaches, or even a quiet backyard can provide a beautiful backdrop for practice. Just be mindful of privacy, ground conditions, and potential distractions. If you're teaching your private lesson online, test your setup thoroughly before your first session. Ensure your lighting, camera angle, and sound quality allow your student to see and hear you clearly. Consider how you'll observe their practice and provide feedback in a virtual environment. Regardless of location, arrive early to set up the space. Arrange your props, adjust the lighting and temperature if you can, and create an environment conducive to focused practice. Your preparedness sets the tone for a professional experience. Now let's address what might be your biggest concern, managing your own nerves. Remember, nerves mean you care, and that's a good thing. First, recognize that your student is coming to you because they believe in your ability to help them. They're choosing a private lesson precisely because they want your personalized guidance. Trust that your training and experience have prepared you for this opportunity. Prepare thoroughly, but release attachment to your plan. The best private teachers are responsive to what emerges in the moment. Your willingness to adapt is more valuable than perfectly executing a predetermined sequence. Remember that you don't need to know everything. If your student asks a question you can't answer, it's completely professional to say, "That's a great question. I'm going to research that more thoroughly and get back to you." Then make notes and follow up as promised. Practice deep listening. Private lessons are conversations, not performances. Your ability to truly hear your students' needs, both spoken and unspoken, is your greatest asset. Finally, focus on service rather than performance. When we shift our attention to how we can best serve our student, our self-consciousness naturally diminishes. You're not there to impress them with your perfect execution of advanced poses. You're there to meet them where they are and guide them toward their goals. To summarize, prepare thoughtfully with a comprehensive intake form. Design a personalized lesson plan using the 642 framework. Create value-added resources. Carefully consider your teaching location. And manage your nerves by focusing on service. Here's an affirmation to help you remember. I am prepared to guide one person toward their goals. I am prepared to guide one person toward their goals. In our next episode, we'll explore what happens during the private lesson itself, how to create connection, how to offer effective feedback, and how to navigate the common challenges that can arise in one-on-one teaching. If you have stories about teaching private lessons or questions that you'd like addressed about them, please share them at comfortzoneyoga.com in our free community for teachers called The Zone. There's a link for you in the show notes. And when you arrive in the zone, you'll also find templates to help you as you teach private lesson. You'll find an intake form, you'll find a lesson planning form, and you'll find a template for that follow-up email. Thank you for listening to Yoga Teacher Confidential. I'm Sage Rountree, and I'll see you next time.